Welcome to Are You Done Yet? The podcast brought to you by Innovative E, the 2023 and 2024 Microsoft Partner of the Year winner and a 7-time Microsoft Award winner in the last 6 years. Hosted by Mike Taylor, CEO of Innovative E, and Bryan Quick, Senior Director of Business Development, this podcast is your go-to resource for transforming your organization's project and work management strategies. And now, Mike Taylor and Bryan Quick.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Are You Done Yet podcast, the podcast where we address your project and work management needs and challenges. I'm your host, Bryan Quick, and I have, as always, with me Mike Taylor, our CEO and author now of the new book that's coming out. We'll tell you all about it. We're very excited to be here today to introduce our new podcast series called Modernizing Project Management, the journey to becoming a higher performing organization with happier people. And so without further ado, I'd like to just dive in. Mike, how are you been?
Sounds great, Bryan. I'm great. Thanks. Yeah, this is I'm really excited to dig into this series. We did a webinar, I think a day or two ago, and it went really well. Had hundreds of people register for it. I think it's a really compelling topic right now. And I think one of the things we really want to do is shed some clarity on what does modernization mean, at least to us, and what we're hearing from our customers. So really interested to dig into it.
So we're introducing this topic. This is episode 1. We're at the beginning here, and we want to talk about an introduction to modernizing project management, because that could mean a lot of things to a lot of people, right?
Sure. Yeah. I think modernization, a lot of times when people think about modernization, we were talking about this the other day, they think about a particular tool, like I need to buy modern tools. And it may be part of it, but I don't think that's exactly what we're talking about, right?
So much to cover here. It's a perspective. It's not only a tool-based perspective or a technology perspective even. It's a different way of looking at project management. And I think a lot has changed even in the last several years we've been having this podcast with the advent of different technologies that are now coming to the forefront with artificial intelligence. So we really want to get to explore in depth and in detail with you the concept of modern project and work management. So we had, you want to talk a little bit about kind of where we came to this realization, Mike, so long ago, it seems, and back in 2018, we were all out in Seattle.
Yeah, we were all out in Seattle. We were there. Microsoft had invited us to come out, and this was the very early days. It was the introduction of the new Project for the Web, which is now being rebranded and combined with other products. We'll talk more about that in future episodes and things, but it really is the new planner. And planner with premium features. But what Microsoft was, we learned a whole lot that weekend, right? Or that week. And one of the things was that they were really re-architecting the whole platform around the Power Platform. And that was going to be what they were talking about, a platform, a multi-generational platform, 20 or 30 years they anticipate this. So they were rebuilding everything, their first-party apps, including the new project at the time, was being built on the Power Platform. And what the Power Platform really did is it kind of turned app model building on its head a little bit. It put the platform at the center instead of going off and building purpose-built apps with their own databases and their own silos and things like that. Right. It really said, look, we've got a platform here that we can build upon. And by doing that, the first-party apps like Project for the Web, Planner, New Planner, take advantage of all those features. But also what it does is it enables you to extend these applications and do your own Power Platform type development at the same time. So that was one thing we learned. So we were kind of looking at that going, oh, this sounds pretty interesting. The second thing we learned was that Microsoft was investing heavily at the time in AI. Shocking, right? It didn't just happen last March when they announced the GPT and Copilot.
Happen overnight, right?
No, it was several years in the making. But we saw some demos there, right, about some of the things they were doing with language models and with learning and being able to read transcripts or read text and then be able to interpret it, to be able to do things. And we started putting some pieces together. We were having conversations over dinner and stuff afterwards, going, man, there's really some interesting things that can be done with this platform now and this new tool set to solve some problems in our domain, the project management domain, that have never been solvable before.
Right.
And I think it was kind of that realization of turning everything upside down, really starting with the platform itself. And then I think one of the things another realization that really hit us in the face maybe sometime over the next year or so was the emergence of Teams, because you started to get in, that was late 2018. Of course, you get in early 2020 and everything was virtual all of a sudden, right? With the pandemic,
Right.
everything was virtual. Teams was already kind of a staple. It was an up and coming staple of the platform, but then it became absolutely mission critical. People had to be using Teams because they were working remotely now where they weren't before. We were pretty much remote already, but it really changed the game. But Teams is also a first party Power Platform, Microsoft application. So
Right.
all the tumblers had I think came into place there in around 2020 for us to say we really want to go off and start building towards a modernization strategy for our customers that is built
Mm-hmm.
on this new technology set that really, it's all about people, process, technology, but technology is an enabler. And in this case, it's a game-changing enabler. The platform is a game-changing enabler. So I think that was
Mm-hmm.
really that light bulb or watershed moment for us. It really probably spanned from about late 2018 to early 2020, March, April, May 2020, when the Teams
Yeah.
usage, that was kind of the final piece of the puzzle. We went, this is really powerful. This is really
Yeah.
interesting.
It did the combination of those things among other things. And if you want to witness and sort of, if you didn't catch our early episodes of Are You Done Yet? I mean, we're right there in the thick of it during the pandemic, having these discussions. So go back and take a look at them, folks, and re-listen to some of those episodes where we're actually in the process of coming to some of these realizations.
Mm-hmm.
Drawing conclusions that we've built upon in the last several years since then. It could be a really interesting journey for you.
And some of those conclusions, I think,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Brian, but some of those have been based on as we start applying this with customers, right? So
Sure.
we've been in a very rapid learning mode over the last 4 years or so, and
For sure.
learning, applying. So it's been a really amazing journey. We've been able to do some things with customers that are just solving problems that were never solvable before. It's super exciting.
Yep. Let's talk a little bit about the state of affairs sort of project management, Mike. I mean, we've got project success rates not really where they should be. We have a proliferation of tools out there now, which is creating issues for customers in scenarios of siloed data chasing. What do you think's going on?
Yeah, so in doing some of the research for the book, I went back and looked at all the product and the development of project management over the years. And as you know, former Microsoft was one of the first to the game with Microsoft Project in the mid '80s. I think it's 85 or 87 was version 1.0. It was all DOS based and everything. But then there was a proliferation of tools, and these tools were, enabled us as project managers to capture information around, what the tasks were, what the dependencies were, who was assigned to it, those kind of things. And
Sure.
these tools just blew up over the years. There's, Microsoft Project still around. There's multiple versions of Microsoft Project and in the tool set now. We'll talk more about that. Then all these third-party tools started popping up, about 10, 12 years ago, I guess, when the cloud really became a thing. You started getting all these born in the cloud solutions. So you started getting your Monday.com and your Right, your ClickUp, your Asana, everything. Just a huge proliferation of tools. At the same time, over the last few decades, there's been a big proliferation of new methodologies. People have said, not everything is a waterfall project, and I couldn't agree more. So there's been a proliferation of things like Agile and Scrum and Kanban and these other ways to manage work, and then there's also been going back into the 60s, 70s, 80s, you started with things like the Project Management Institute. You started getting the certifications in Agile, Scrum Master, and all that kind of stuff. So curriculum really started building up around it.
Mm-hmm.
You had the PMI again. I think there's over 1 million, maybe 1.1 million project management professionals, and now they've got the new certifications, the CAPM, the Agile Certified Professional. There's all these additional curriculums. Big universities have taken on. Carnegie Mellon, I think, was one of the first to start a master's in project management. Georgia Tech. There's all kinds of project management programs that are available out there. So you've had this proliferation of, if you take from the curriculum side back to the methodologies, it's really the people, the processes, and the technologies have proliferated over the last 30 years or so or more. So like you were saying a few minutes ago, Brian, there's been reports about, kind of what the efficiency of project management. There was a Standish Group report came out in February of last year, and it was a comprehensive worldwide survey and report of project managers, stakeholders, et cetera, to figure out, how successful are initiatives at achieving the objectives that were intended, not necessarily the golden triangle of, time, scope, and money, That's important, but there's other things. And more you're hearing that people are saying, well, did it have its intended outcomes? And so
Right.
the results of that survey were about 65% did not. They failed to achieve. Some were outright failure. Some just came up short, which means only about 35%. And they were saying there's about, I think, 48 trillion being spent on projects every year and only about a 35% success rate. So I went back and did some looking, and that success rate hasn't really moved over about 20 years. Then you look back 20 years ago, you see some things that were done by Gartner and others, 25 to 30%. So maybe we've moved it up a little bit, but with all this additional people, process technology, things that are going on, all this proliferation of tools and everything else, it's really not moving the overall success rate. And I think the conclusion we've come to in working with our customers and a lot of discussions and research is it really is, these tools and these methodologies and the curriculums and things are all great. They meet intended outcomes. They help raise the bar. But at the same time, while they're doing that, you now have a proliferation of all this stuff, especially the technology, right? All these tools that are going out there. So you talk about a lot of organizations have multiple tools. We just did in the webinar we did the other day.
Isn't that a foregone conclusion at this point? I mean, we're not going to make people standardize on one tool anymore, right? That's what we're talking about, is changing your perspective on what modern project management really means.
Right, exactly. So as people are adding in these additional tools, what they're doing is they're creating these silos, these islands of applications with people over there and data, right? So you and some other folks are over there managing something, an XYZ app, right? And then you have to come over and manage another project, maybe as a project manager, and it's using a different technology. So you got a different set of people and you're collaborating in a different set, and you've got different ways of doing it over there. And then yet there's another one over there. We found that I think, and one of the things we did recently, we did a survey, and 92% of the organizations, we had several hundred people in there, so it was a pretty good sample size. We've done it actually a few times. I think 92% said they had more than one tool. And then, what the research says out there is about most organizations of any size are using about 5.7 digital tools. So multiple tools are out there. Like you said, it's a foregone conclusion.
Work and project management tools, not just tools in general.
Yeah. Digital tools that are being used to manage projects, which are generally these tools that are, they either have a scheduling engine in them, or they're something like an ADO, Azure DevOps, or Jira that have, they don't really have scheduling in per se, but they're still managing work.
Right. So that's very telling. I mean, so we're saying that it's the proliferation of tools, the disconnection of people, and the disconnection of applications and those tools together that is causing a data segmentation problem. And that's really at the core of why we feel that projects' success rate hasn't really moved much. And if you want to learn more about this, take a look at our latest webinar. We'll put a link up on the screen there. Take a look at our latest webinar where we take a deep dive into this. It's an hour long. So, get a cup of coffee, set aside some time. Where we really look into what modernization means and these problems that have been proliferating. So that's kind of our point of view on that. Now I'm looking at the kind of the notes here of what else we wanted to cover, but modernizing project and work management means different things to different people in an organization, or could potentially, as you can imagine. Let's talk about what that would mean like for a project manager. Now, I would say, what is modern project management from a project management perspective? I'm going to submit, some of you may have a different opinion, that it's about getting rid of all this manual minutia type of work that's going on that basically isn't actual project management, but you would classify as project coordination or data chasing. So I'll give you some examples. Having to get your task status from members of your team in a meeting and then go back and update something as a result of a conversation. Having to manually extract or publish meeting minutes in some sort of a document, in a document repository somewhere. I would also say that, creating a status report in any capacity that's manual would be a huge opportunity for modernizing. A lot of folks are still using Word documents or Excel spreadsheets in order to communicate information or data or put it together in a meaningful way. So those are the kind of things that come to mind to me, in terms of project management opportunities for modernization. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I'd say all those things and more. The one that I'd really kind of double click on though is you hit on trying to chase the data as a project manager. Many times the information, even if you're using a particular tool, maybe it's like Project Server, Project Online, and you can do collaboration in that, you find that project managers find that there's other data in other locations that they need to bring together to do
Yeah.
that status report or some visualization for the stakeholders to have meaningful insights, to have timely decisions. And that's one of the things that we find over and over again in conversations. It's one of the most, you talk about getting rid of the minutia. That's the minutia. A lot of project managers really spend the majority of their time chasing and trying to synthesize data into something that's actionable, so you can make an actionable, timely decision on it, only to find out some of that information was older in this other system you pulled in, or wasn't updated by folks or things like that. So making timely decisions, if you don't have, it'd be like driving your car and your speedometer's 10 minutes behind, right? You don't know how fast you're going. It's like, I'm doing 20. Why did I get pulled over?
Right.
Well, you were doing 70. Well, I was doing 20 10 minutes ago.
So if you're the executive and you're getting this information and they're spending a lot of time putting it together, there's huge margin for error. It's not timely information.
I think that also touches on another point you made a few minutes ago, that the future of project management, and that's, I know it's in everybody's mind these days with AI and things that are going on. There was another report, I know I quote a lot of reports, been doing a lot of research lately, that 80% of functions that are being done by project managers now will be automated by AI and automation by 2031. So just in 7 years or so.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. Exactly. I mean, to some people say, well, is that going to get rid of my job? Well, it is if you're a data chaser and you're an analyst and that's all you're doing. But if you're actually a project manager, and you say this a lot, that really focuses on the human aspects of project management, of leading,
right.
and deconflicting and working the different components that AI is never going to do, then you're going to be fine. In fact, they say there's going to be 20 or 30 million new project management jobs over the same period of time. So it's really going to cause a shift, I think, in the project management role in the coming years. And I think it's a very welcome shift for most people who've been in the trenches of chasing data and analyzing stuff, only to find out they're behind and not really spending much time with the people. A lot of data chasing.
I mean, I think about my project management career and in the earlier days, and when I was an individual contributor, a PM managing, large initiatives in an IT organization, national website. And I think about what motivated me, what into that position, and what I enjoyed about it the most. And I guarantee it wasn't putting together a manual status report.
Right.
There's another about the people, and the camaraderie. It was about the buttons that you can push to motivate folks, to find your leaders, to find the people that are going to dig you out of a hole, and bring them together, get obstacles out of their way, get them what they need, get them the resources they're looking for, negotiate situations, manage risk issue. That's what got me up in the morning, and that's what I enjoyed about that aspect of my career. I'm sure a lot of project managers out there feel the same way. I mean, you're not there to create the best Excel spreadsheet on the face of the earth.
Right.
You're there to get things done, to get projects done.
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned, that's really the aspirational part of this. And you talk about happier people. There's really two things that we see that will lead to happier people. One is that you feel more job satisfaction because you're really closer to what it feels like it's more impactful on making the difference, which are the people doing the work.
Right.
And, the other is just the data itself and being able to get the data into the systems. So that's a really important part, because you mentioned a few minutes ago, chasing data. That's going to change. So it's not just aggregating stuff that's in siloed things. It's also getting your project people and your project managers to enter the data. And as that's more automated, that's going to become really a non-issue anymore. And so,
I think let's move on to the team member. The person who's doing the work on a project. So I think the opportunities there for modernization are, I'll just throw out a few ideas. knowing where you fit into the project and the project schedule within, and knowing where to find everything, knowing exactly what you need to do at any given time, not having to use a project management system that you don't use on a daily basis to go log some activity.
Right.
Because the propensity there is to leave it till the very last minute to try to, nobody wants to do that, right? What is the thing that you always say is like humans are terrible at mundane tasks?
Yeah, humans are terrible at mundane tasks. I've used in a few of the webinars we've done.
I'm one of those humans.
Yeah, I am too.
By the way, I need to get my expense report in, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah, and I need to go get my coffee out of the microwave. It's sitting there beeping for the last 10 minutes, and I put it in there knowing I wanted it. Right? I do that at least once a week, and I want the coffee. It's just I forget about it. Right? So it's right. If you can't remember to do that or get your expense report because you want your money, right? How are you going to remember to make sure that you're getting every single task updated, every status updated, every issue and risk logged? If you've been in meetings all day, you might not. If you're a project manager, and to the team member, your point about not having to use the complicated project management systems. I don't know. I know we've both been individual contributors in the past doing project and portfolio management. I can't even tell you how many times I heard team members, people and developers or engineers or infrastructure folks and projects I was managing tell me this exact phrase: project management is not my job, it's yours.
Right.
It's like, why do I have to go enter all this data? I said, I can't enter all the data for everybody who's out there. So you got to go enter it.
I don't know how much time you spent. Yeah. So, but what the opportunity is here, and people are probably listening. I don't know if you're listening to this and saying, well, what's the option? What's the alternative? I need to know because I'm in a regulated industry. I need to know how much time people spent. I'm working on a capitalized project. I need to know because I'm going to, it's tax deductible or whatever. It's not an option, right? So people just need to comply. Well, let's just make it easier for them. Let's try to automate some of those things wherever we can. And then let's bring the project management system that they don't want to go use into the tools that they're already using today. And namely, what we'll talk to you about in the course of this podcast series is leveraging the technologies that we've introduced at the beginning of the call, not the call, beginning of the podcast, called Power Platform and Teams. So, more and more people are working in those areas. So to the extent that we can bring these experiences into, namely Teams, that's modernization. That's a modernization approach that I think we would all agree could pay dividends.
Yeah, and I think one of the keys to that approach, and we talk about this a lot, is actually going after, and this is a sort of a well-worn path in doing application or solution development, which is solve some of the low-hanging fruit things. It's easy to get caught up in the aspirational. We want to go do with AI. We want to make predictive project management, right? Or we want to go build schedules through Gen AI and all that. All of those are good goals, but sometimes they require a little more, foundational elements. You can also go after some of these things like you're talking about. Make it easier to get time in. Make it easier to get your meeting minutes automatically done. Make it easier to do analysis of kind of what's going on in schedules and things like that. So as you take these operational components of project management, you help the project managers and the people with the data entry stuff, and you start building a cadre of more valuable things as you take work that is mundane and not necessarily very accurate, and you remove that work while at the same time getting better quality of data. And better and more timely quality data, like we talked about, is going to get you more actionable and more timely decisions to make better decisions on the project that you're working on or portfolio. Yeah.
And I just kind of want to address the, is it elephant or gorilla? I'm never sure who's in the
It's
room.
Either one, elephant, gorilla. Pick your big, large mammal.
Right. Large mammal. I'm going to go with gorilla. Anyway, so I'd like to address some people listening to this might be thinking, you know what, this isn't for me. My stuff is too outdated. I'm not really thinking that my company is going to, be this forward thinking or embrace this concept. What would we say to some folks like that about meeting them where they're at?
Yeah, I think one of the core tenets of our modernization approach is to do just that, is to meet people where they are. A lot of times when people talk about modernizing, it means buying a new project management or work management app, right? Switch from Trello to ClickUp. All right. Well, what do I do with all the stuff in Trello? Well, it's a rip and replace. Get rid of that, re-enter all the projects or do a migration, or these kind of things. Our approach is to do as little of that as possible up front. Now, over time, you can start to harmonize applications. People, we talk about different personas in an organization. Some, project manager might not care about harmonizing apps. He may or she may, but somebody up in a higher organization, enterprise architect or the CFO or CTO may care about that overall. But in the early days, let's start by doing things that are going to gain a lot of value with minimum business disruption. So keep using the technology you're using. If you're using Microsoft Teams, now you're going to bring those experiences for everyone except for the project manager who has to update the schedule. You're going to bring all the experiences into Teams where the work's already happening, right? So it's going to make it easier, and you're going to get higher results with a minimally disruptive approach. And that's key, because now when you bring all that stuff together, now at the top of this discussion, we started talking about all this interesting stuff. All these light bulbs went off, and we started seeing what the technology could do. Now you can do interesting stuff with it, because now you have the data in the same place. You have all the people in the same place. So bringing those people, apps, and data together really makes it so that individuals within organizations, IT departments within organizations that have the technical capabilities, or other partners can come in and even customize more away from that towards whatever you want to do for your actual business processes. Because almost every organization at some point, outside of a core set of functionality that software provides, has their unique set of processes that they need automated.
Right. That's a good point. So we'll meet you where you are, whether you're using Microsoft Project or Excel or a competing tool like Smartsheet or Jira. The point is leveraging, we are a Microsoft centric, partner. So we're going to leverage that platform to its furthest extent, but there's a lot of opportunity to pull in other things, a lot of opportunity for integration with the Power Platform. So we should have a discussion about modernization. And you probably will have several steps that you can take on your modernization journey, regardless of where you are.
Yeah. The Power Platform component is one thing we failed to mention is the connectors that are in Power Platform. So there's when Microsoft introduced it, one of the tenets is they wanted to make it almost universally usable with almost all the apps that are out there, at least all the major apps. So there are 300 plus connectors to multiple different systems that are out there. So bringing in data and bringing things together in the Power Platform is easier than ever. So one of the things, you run into all kinds of scenarios with project management. You're oftentimes asked to tie into like a financial system or an HR system or things like that. So that becomes a more, not completely ubiquitous and pain-free or friction-free, but it becomes a much easier process to look at doing those things with the Power Platform as the underpinning of it. So that's a key component of it. And we can work with these existing apps that are out there as well. Almost all of them will work with the Microsoft platform. A lot of them will already work with Teams, although they're more of like a left rail app where they just are installed in there. You still have to do work to make sure that you're providing a common kind of governed approach towards using them the same way, or otherwise things get out of control and you get no value out of the information architecture that you have in place. So, yeah, but it's a super compelling way to go with a minimally disruptive approach to what you've already built. Even processes and technology that you've built around a specific app. Maybe you have Project Online and you've got a lot of customizations built around it. Yeah. You don't have to change any of that. The main thing you're going to change on day one is just bringing people into Teams for all the collaborative aspect of it, right? But all those customizations, if they're, maybe got automated timesheeting or other things that are going on, tie into other things, you can leave that alone on day one.
Right. And, if you are a project server or project online user today on the Microsoft platform, you're probably thinking, they want me to use that new thing, Project for the Web, and they're changing the name to Planner Premium, this and that. I'm not going to get any of that new stuff unless I switch, and I can't switch. What would we say to those people right now, Mike? I mean, it's okay, right? We're going to meet you where you are. You don't have to make major changes. Mm-hmm. You can use AI right now.
Right now. Yeah, and we've done that for several customers, right? We have some very large customers and some smaller customers that are, niche leaders in their market. But we have some, Fortune 50 companies that are and some of the biggest brands on the planet. We'd recognize them in an instant if we said it. But they've been on this journey. We've been working with them for 3+ years, and in many cases, we did exactly what you said. They had existing implementations of Project Online, or maybe they even had a project server that they needed to get into the cloud. So we moved it to Project Online with them, and they had customizations. Maybe we redid some of those customizations in the new Power Platform, but we didn't even have to do that. We could have taken the customization. In that case, you had to redo some stuff because you're moving it from on-prem to in the cloud. But if they had already, the ones who already have like Project Online, we can leave those customizations in place and then start bringing everything in. Like you said, that the teams start using Teams for the collaboration aspect of it. You can start to apply AI there, and you don't have to change anything on day one. Now, what these customers are seeing, though, is they're seeing the value of the platform. They're seeing the kind of the art of the possible with some of these other things, like the new Planner and Planner Premium. So we have customers who they're actually still running Project Online, right? With maybe it's their IT or their infrastructure group or their engineering group or whatever. They're still running it for those high, more traditional PPM kind of things where they have all these requirements and customizations built. But then they find, well, I've got this other department that needs to do something that's a little more lightweight. What do you guys think? And we said, well, there's this other tool that's available. It's native to the platform, the new Planner, Project for the Web. And you can use that in conjunction with all this, and it's first party now. So it's super easy to integrate and then customize around. And we've done that for folks where it's more of, in some cases, it's more of just a generic kind of lighter weight project management solution where they're doing, generic kind of management but they need some schedule and dependency stuff in. In other cases, we've done full customization, right? It basically becomes an app with the Power Platform and the Planner app as the foundational components of it.
That's a good segue, Mike, to a little segment I like to call From the Trenches. So we've got this is where we share, current customer conversations that we're having with customers or prospects on modernization specifically, since this is the modernization series. And so I have a good one for you. I got one in mind.
Okay.
So we've got a new customer. It's a manufacturing company, kind of a household name, and their scenario was, in a certain part of their manufacturing products, they've got Excel spreadsheets that they're basically using as reporting method. So basically status reports, but it shows the entire process of something being manufactured and the materials and everything that go into it, and so forth. And basically doing the project management in local desktop project. So there's no connection between what's in local desktop project and what's in Excel. It's basically all manual entry kind of from there. And everybody's using the same sort of Excel spreadsheet with different tabs in order to get all that data in. And at the same time, all of the, every time they have a new build, they've got another financial system, like a CRM system, that they'll enter that information into about what it is that they're actually manufacturing and building and for whom. So all that is creating data chasing, just like we said, and it's creating manual work. And the process of actually managing the project is totally disconnected from the reporting, causing there to be like a latency in reporting and a lot of manual activity. So what we're doing is we're going to start with a pilot, and we're going to leverage our Teams for PM Accelerator. If you'd like to learn more about that, we'll put the link right up there, and you can take a look at it on the website. It's basically a pre-made modernization tool that'll take basically Microsoft Teams, connect Microsoft Project for the Web, which is being renamed Microsoft Planner with premium features, and leverage that as a scheduling tool, which outputs into Power BI. Power BI is running dashboards, reporting, automated, done.
Right.
And we're going to be doing this as a 3-month pilot in their Microsoft 365 environment. Very excited to get started. So there's our From the Trenches segment. What do you think?
Yeah, it's great. And that's just one of many, many stories that are similar. In some cases, it's like that. People are on spreadsheets and desktop versions of a project management tool, or even a third party born in the cloud tools, and they see a better way, and it's fairly, it's a much faster method to use the new platform. Because one of the things, we talked about Power Platform. One of the things about Power Platform, and it's kind of got lost in the last year or so with all of the AI buzz that's going on, is the low code, what they're calling low code, pro code. It enables you to do software development, workflow automation, those kind of things much faster. You're talking multiples of times of efficiency, 4, 5, 8 times faster. It's not a silver bullet for everything. You can get in, and that's why the pro code piece comes in. If you get into very complex multi-state workflows and alternate work paths and things like that, you need a professional developer to be involved, and we oftentimes get into that with our customers. But it really does accelerate that kind of feature functionality development thing. So we're finding that with customers in the project management space. We also find it with customers they come to us and say, well, we don't need you guys to help us with the project management stuff, but we're doing all this app modernization, and we've got a very similar challenge. Maybe we have something that's a legacy SharePoint environment that we're moving to the cloud. We have all these things that need to be done. So we run into a lot of that as well. And it's really the same answer. It's just with a slightly different twist. It's like, if you got all these applications, you can modernize the platform, and then you can either repurpose these applications over time, or in some cases you continue to use some of them, like we were talking about with the project management apps. You can continue to use them, but you can start to add things that will work with that app as feature functionality, and you do all that in the Power Platform. So you have a faster time to market, if you will, with those new features and new capabilities.
Yeah, it's like kind of like we're on an infomercial, right? And we're trying to sell like some knives.
Yeah, exactly.
It slices, it dices.
It makes julienne fries.
Yeah.
And if you order now.
Yeah. So that's a good story, I think. And, the next kind of phase, we're talking about integrations with other systems using Power Automate. But, you gotta start somewhere. You're not going to get all this done overnight. And that's why we keep saying project management is a journey of modernization. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to go buy a tool off the shelf and you're instantly going to be modern. If you think that's going to happen, you're just going to actually create further problems with the proliferation of your tool set.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's segment into a couple other things, Mike. I want to kind of preview the next episode here. So we talked about an introduction to modernizing project management in this one. Next time, we're going to talk about the history and evolution of project management.
Okay.
Is that going to be like a Mel Brooks theme?
The history of the world, part 2.
Yeah. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into kind of our perspective on how things grew up here, what kind of moment we think we're in with the way things are evolving. So stay tuned. We're gonna try to do these on a regular cadence. I know it's been a while.
Right.
Want a couple of things as we kind of round up here, Mike. Round this one up. Want to remind everybody to take a look at your book. The AI Project Management Revolution is here.
Yeah, thank you. Yep, and you can get it on Amazon. It's available in digital. It's in Kindle format, and I actually have a copy sitting right here. There's a paperback format, obviously, and there is also an audiobook format that's out there.
I like the audiobook thing because I have a big family and I have absolutely no time to sit down and read a book. So I do a lot of my when I'm walking a dog or something, I throw the earbuds in and just take in a podcast. So that's a really convenient way of kind of learning about AI and project management and what it might mean to you.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you.
So we just had our recent modernization webinar. It was actually taped yesterday, as a matter of fact, but I think we're still going to make that available, my understanding, to folks that may not have had the opportunity to attend. So be sure to check that out. I think we'll put a link up there for you.
Yeah, our YouTube site.
And it was great. I mean, it was a good webinar yesterday. It was very well attended. What we have, almost 600 people sign up, almost 300 came. So, and it was really engaging. Everybody was real engaged in the conversation. Don't forget to like or subscribe to the Are You Done Yet podcast. That's how we We kind of want to make sure that, you have the latest and greatest notifications as the episodes come out. We're going to be more regular about putting them out. So thank you to our current subscribers. And if you're seeing kind of Are You Done Yet for the first time, remember to like or subscribe. It's on the screen. Click the button, do the thing.
And comment. Yeah.
Comment.
We love the interaction.
Yeah. All right. Well, are you managing all these comments? Sounds like manual. That sounds like one of those manual things that
maybe we need a system for that. We need to modernize it. It's not going to be a bot. We promise. It's not an AI bot. We'll actually answer.
Yeah. No. Sounds good. So I think that just about wraps up our episode of Are You Done Yet? And the Modernization of Project Management series. Thanks for joining us, folks, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Are You Done Yet? Remember to like and subscribe, and check out the show notes for links to Mike's book and our webinar. Leave us a comment or share your thoughts on today's topic. We value your insights and look forward to sparking a conversation about the future of project management. Join us next time as Mike and Bryan explore the rich history and evolution of project management. From the early days of Gantt charts and CPM to the latest in agile tools and AI capabilities, we'll see how far we've come and where we're headed.